Everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've invited my good friend Pete Komalafe back onto the channel where we're going to be talking about poor financial habits are keeping you trapped in a job and actually what you can do to start making a shift to working towards not becoming wealthy, but becoming more financially literate and getting yourself in a position where you don't have to be a slave to the wage. Because we're going to dive into it in today's podcast, but so many people are trapped simply because of poor spending habits and keeping up with the Joneses. And we're going to dive into everything today. So get a pen and paper, and just, I would say, be very self-aware and honest, if some things resonate with you. And again, always let us know in the comments. Pete, thanks so much for coming back on, mate. This is a regular for us now.
Of course, mate. Look, anytime you ask if I've got the time, I'm there, mate. You know it.
We do it. And I think the people that, we reach, we are really making an impact because I've actually gone back over the podcasts and the comments have really made a difference. And that's the main thing about this is, it really impacts people and they can take something away from it. So what we're going to do is we are going to start off with just sharing some slides. I'm also on a live stream at the moment, so you might see me occasionally just change the slides on my live stream. We're gonna start from the very beginning. So people are financially trapped in a job because of zero financial literacy, thinking money is evil, so the actual relationship with money, keeping up with the Joneses is one of the biggest killers. We'll talk about that today. Taking out unnecessary debt because you're desperate to buy that thing that you can't afford it, right? You shouldn't be buying it. And then consumer spending. Now, let's just go over this, right? Pete, we're definitely going to know these numbers, but for anyone looking at this is basically between the UK and the US of people that how much savings that they have or if they have any at all. So at the bottom left-hand side here, you've got the UK, which is in yellow, and then the US in blue. I'll just read out the UK. So 10% have no savings, right?
Hmm.
Which is shocking. Okay. But it doesn't really surprise me or you, right? That, it doesn't
No.
surprise 23% in the UK adults, this is, by the way, have less than 200. 32% of adults in the UK have less than £500, and 31% of UK adults in the UK have less than £1,000. Like super, super shocking. And I would go as far to say incredibly dangerous. Now,
Yep.
stats on people feeling trapped. This will be the last slide I read until we move on. But stats on people feeling trapped in jobs due to financial stress, right? 24% of UK adults feel trapped in a job for financial survival, right? I talk a lot about that. 49% of workers are in insecure roles, could not pay an unexpected £300 bill within 7 days. 20% of employees avoid thinking about their finances at all. I can vouch for that because I've spoken with many old work colleagues. They avoided money conversations like the plague. 33%
Hmm.
of UK employees say personal finances distract them at work. 60% of US
Hmm.
workers feel stuck in their job. 34% cite financial instability as a barrier to moving or leaving their job. 29% of UK workers, 8.2 million, say financial worries have negatively impacted their productivity. And one in six UK adults, 17%, have no savings at all. 46% of UK workers worry about their finances on a daily basis. So let me just stop sharing the screen now.
Yep.
So um, there we go. That was it paints the picture. You can't, facts don't lie, Pete. So do you just want to sort of just take us back to the first one in terms of how bad people are that they don't have 200, 300, £400, and why do you think that is?
Okay, look, I think first, let me just kind of maybe just state the obvious. There are reasons why there are people that obviously don't have money saved up, right? And I think it's worthwhile we just touch on those reasons and acknowledge them because otherwise people will say you guys are out of touch, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
What people will cite is stagnant wages. They will cite inflation, which is the cost of goods and services going up around them. All of those things are true. Those two things particularly are true. People will cite high accommodation cost to get on the property ladder, so on and so forth. All very well and good. But this is where my philosophy comes in, and you're with me on this every single time we talk about it. Those are external factors. Some of those things you can control, some of the things you can't. The things that you can control are the things that you do. So when we talk about spending habits, whether you're too concerned with impressing the neighbor or going out pulling some birds on the weekend and like you've got to pop some bottles because you've got to look like the dude, whether you're too concerned about whether you're wearing Louis Vuitton and whatever it might be, all of those things matter more than those external factors. And I think it is an uncomfortable conversation to have, and it's an uncomfortable realization to come to, that, hey, maybe I'm my own worst enemy in this whole thing, because it's easier to blame external factors and other people when you're doing something that isn't serving you correctly. And I think that's important, number one, to acknowledge, because until you acknowledge that, you're going to be fighting a losing battle at the end of the day. Yes, people don't have money saved up. Yes, people feel trapped in a 9 to 5. I'm seeing this in my YouTube channel all the time. People feeling as though, what's the point? They feel disempowered, disillusioned, disenfranchised. And I have to keep reminding people, like, control what is it. This is the craziest thing someone said to me the other day, right? Bearing in mind, I gave my very brief synopsis of my story. I've been homeless and shit. And not homeless sofa surfing, homeless sleeping on the streets. Someone said in the comment section, well, this is experience bias, because it's not happened to you, then you think it doesn't happen. I'm like, my experience is probably worse than most people, yet I've been able to work my way out of it. The point is, control the controllables and influence what you can, and not allow yourself to be a victim of excuses and a victim of what's going on externally, and use that as a crutch to say, well, what do you want me to do? It's just, you can't think like that.
Why are we such a society of blame culture, though? Because anyone, I just want to say at this point, anyone listening on iTunes or Spotify, you definitely want to go check out the YouTube version of this, because we are showing images. I'm going to bring up an image. The reason why, and we'll talk about why society is such a blame culture, and dive into that. But I'm also going to use some images because people, we can talk about this, like we've spoken about this before, and there will always be people in the comments that say, well, it's hard, and
Mm-hmm.
cost of living is crippling us, and it's like, the cost of living is always going up. We've spoken about this. I almost don't want to go over it again, because it's gone up over the last 100 years. Nothing is changing, and for the next 100 years, things will continue to go up. But it's in our planning, and it's in our prevention, our preparation, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
ownership, accountability, and I think that's what I want to talk about today. The great thing is with the slides, the reason I've decided to use slides today is because facts and numbers don't lie. Me and
Mm-hmm.
you can talk about it, but there will still be people in the comments, if they can't visually
Oh,
see,
you're making it up.
they
Yeah,
will
yeah,
deny it.
yeah.
So we
Yeah.
are in a society of blame culture, and let's just hop on to one of the next slides. Now, I'm just going to change this on my live stream, so everyone on my live stream's got the same one here, right? This is like a breakdown of your average spend of someone who spends basically just on rubbish. So let's just go through this real quick, because you can't deny this. When people turn around to me, Pete, and they say, I had this recently. Oh, well, Aaron, you're telling people not to work hard. Are you going to say that if you go to the doctors or whatever, and the doctor doesn't see to you properly or whatever? And I'm like, private medical care. And they're like, oh, well, you're privileged. You've got private medical care. And I'm like, no, I've got private medical care for my family. I just don't spend money on fags, booze, and drugs and going out. And that money allows me to have private medical care. Private medical
Mm-hmm.
care, by the way, for the record, is actually not that expensive, just for the record. I don't know why we've put medical care on a pedestal. Honestly, look into it. But look, on the left-hand side here. So, and the funny thing is, most people who say they haven't got money are buying and spending this stuff. You can't deny this, everyone, right? And we are here to help. Like, our purpose is to empower you to start making better financial decisions. So let's just run through these real quick. We won't go over all of them, but take away
Mm-hmm.
fast food, 20 to 40 quid. You can see the annual cost of what that would be. Daily coffees. How many people spend 2, 3, 4 quid on coffees? Weekly spend, lottery tickets, betting, Gambling, alcohol, nights out, dating new people every week, on
Hmm.
the old OF or whatever, wherever you meet these people. Drugs, subscription services, impulse shopping, vape. I mean, not being funny, vape refills and cigarettes, 25 to 30 quid, that's a minimum. Like, that's minimum.
Hmm. Hmm.
Taxi, Uber rides, convenience store, going into the co-op, picking up a meal deal for 8 quid. Do you remember the day where it used to be like £2.50, right? And then like
Hmm.
in-game app purchases, like the amount of people that are like spending money on Candy Crush to get like the best whatever it is. And you add that up, a total weekly spend from someone who claims to not have any money is between £235 to 370. That's an annual waste of over 12 grand. You can't deny these facts and figures. The second one here is what you could be spending your money on. But before we dive into that, Pete, I'll leave this up on screen. What's
Yeah.
your take on this? Because let's face it, there is a certain type of person, right, in society that will spend money on this, but will be the exact same person that will tell me and you they haven't got any money to change their life.
Look, at the end of the day, this is about priorities and complacency. Okay. If you're complacent and you have no priorities, you're going to spend money on things like this. This is the thing that people say now that really winds me up, and it's a common thing for influencers to say now. And to a certain extent, I do agree, but I think they miss the larger point. People will say, why sacrifice that coffee or that small spend if the goal is to get on a property ladder? How many coffees do I have to not drink and save that money to get me on the property ladder? It doesn't get me there. That in isolation doesn't. That's very, very true. But I think the point that people are missing is that it's not just about the coffee. It's about not having the discipline to forego a coffee to save that £2 to £3 per time. It's that lack of discipline and how that compounds across other means of spending, which is what we're seeing in this list right here. So the money on vapes, the money on lunches, the money on all of the stuff that you've mentioned there. If someone said to you, I could snap a finger and save you 12 grand a year, would you listen? Of
Mm.
course you would, because it's £12,000 that you're spending on this thing. Now, if someone said to you, okay, right, so there's a list of how many things there? 10 things there, maybe 12. You've got to cut 6 of these to save yourself 6 grand. Would you do it?
Yeah.
If you were desperate for that 6 grand. And I mean, like, okay, look, your mum needs to have an operation. You need to find 6 grand today. Will you do it? Of course you fucking would. Of course you would.
And can
Right?
I just jump in there, Pete? Also,
Mm-hmm.
just saving 6 grand, another slide. This is perfect that you've just said that, cutting off by half. That's why I just want to quickly get it out there. If you were to cut off half of this spending, right? And let's say you have 6 grand, that is an average salary saved, right? Say you were earning two grand a month, right? And your bills were 1,200. We're going to come on to this. There's a slide for this, and you save £800 a month. You then over 9 months have 6, 7 grand saved, which is your emergency fund, which then allows you to sit more comfortably, not being trapped again, not being a victim, not being a blame individual, because
Exactly.
that's, yeah,
Exactly. And this is where it comes down to priorities. So complacency and priorities. If you're complacent, you probably don't have any priorities. Whereas if you do have priorities, you're not going to be complacent. And
yeah,
those two things work in tandem. So you need to be very, very clear on what your priorities are. I actually gave you a shout on my YouTube channel. I think it was this week. No, last Friday, because
yeah,
in my comment section, someone talked about, they felt that they are going to be trapped with the budget and all this kind of stuff, and they hate their 9 to 5. And I said in the video, like, here's the thing, right? People will constantly say, "Are these things out of my control?" Or they'll say, like, "I don't know what to do." And it's like, you've got one of these in your pocket. And I said in the video, any problem you have, the solution's here.
yeah.
If you go looking for it, if you're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it might be, if you search escape 9 to 5, I know for a fact you're going to come up, mate.
Yeah.
And then the algorithm will start feeding you that stuff. And I gave you a shout out because I gave you as the example of, someone who does really good escape 9 to 5 content with avenues to help people actually achieve that. But you've got to be intentional at the end of the day, which relates back to the priorities. What is your priority? If you don't have a priority or a goal, and I know that goal is a buzzword now, what are you doing? Like, you have no direction. It's like just being in the middle of an ocean with no rudder, and you're just heading into a tornado or a typhoon. You're gonna get wrecked. Like, we need to think about this properly and be intentional.
And also accountable, right? That's the thing, is like owning it and actually going, being comfortable to say, do you know what? I am really bad. I'm really bad, but I've got to get to grips with it. And I've got to hear uncomfortable things. Like, for some people, this conversation that we're having could be really uncomfortable. But
Yep.
we are going to go in a positive direction where, that you can see how this could change. So the exact same allocation is slightly different, by the way, but the exact same numbers. This is what it could look like in a positive way. So that exact same money that you're spending on things that have no return on investment, and it's on the live stream as well, so everyone can see.
Aaron, just
Yeah,
one
go
second
on.
before you jump into this. I just want to. What's your demographic breakdown typically across genders, male, female? Do you know what it is?
Probably about 60-40, 60 in favor of male, 40 female, something like
Okay,
that.
cool. One thing I think that is really important to acknowledge, right? And I'm talking from a male point of view here, is that as human beings, as men, we are almost hardwired to try and find a reason why something isn't necessarily working in our favor. Okay, we're kind of problem solvers. We spot danger and we want to fix things, right? That's how our brain is kind of wired. So when we ask the question, why does this not work, or why are you in the situation where you are, as human beings, and this is true whether you're male or female, it is very, very hard to acknowledge that you're part of the problem,
Yeah.
especially as a man, because you're looking externally to try and mitigate, solve problems, and fix something. Whereas sometimes we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, look, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And that requires an element of humility and maturity, because it's really hard to do, to face up and be like, okay, the reason why I'm failing is because of me. Like, that's a big moment of realization. And it's very, very difficult to get yourself there, but it's a necessary step. And so I think it's really important to understand that first and foremost, your psychological makeup will almost fight you for making that initial realization. But you've got to be brave enough to kind of really sit in your own humility and be like, okay, maybe I'm doing some things wrong and I need to fix it. And it's okay because I wasn't well informed, or maybe I hadn't never realized this before. It's completely fine. I think a lot of the time, defense mechanisms go up immediately.
Yeah.
And it isn't going to serve you well.
I think also being comfortable in yourself, like being comfortable not to impress other people, being comfortable knowing who you are. I use that saying of, being unapologetically authentic. When you are
Mm-hmm.
happy in yourself, you don't really care what other people think. Therefore, your
Mm-hmm.
decisions become far more selfish in a good way,
Yep.
more calculated to aligned with your visions and values and standards of where you want to go. And again, this all has an impact on your financial spending. It's crazy to think most people spend money because of what it will look like to someone else. That's a dangerous place to be in, and that means you are not true to who, yourself. But
Yeah. And I also, mate, I think, on social media these days, I spend a lot of time, as you do, on social media. And over the last few years, people use the word wealth as a buzzword. It pisses me off so much. This is how I'm building wealth.
Mhm.
Really? Really? Are you
Yeah,
really building wealth, or are you building financial stability? Wealth is very, very different to financial stability. Everybody wants to build wealth. Everybody wants to be wealthy, but nobody wants to do the work to actually build the stability that really helps you build wealth. You cannot be wealthy if you don't have financial security. If you're busy spending your money, living paycheck to paycheck every single month, you cannot build wealth.
Yeah.
Wealth is having money that works for you. So it's making money while you're not doing anything at all. Wealth is also influence. Influence. So if you're too busy with this idea of I'm going to build wealth, I'm going to start investing in all this kind of stuff, you need to build financial stability first. You can't do that if you're not stable. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here is about building blocks of financial stability.
Mm.
Once you're there, then you can take that catapult and actually build wealth. But people are just using this phrase wealth like it's so
Wording.
nonchalantly. It's just, it really annoys me. And I see it from people where I know them.
Yeah.
You're not on the property ladder. You told me that you're barely making any money, but you're a financial influencer. You're talking about building wealth and helping people build wealth. Like, what is this? Like, give me a
That's
break.
what, yeah, mate, and I see it as well. I think you're right. Buzzwords are really damaging, and I like what you just said because I also use very similar words when I talk anything about money, and I'm talking to someone where because one thing that's really become apparent to me, and I'll tie this in, I'm very, very careful on what I say because I'm more aware so recently that people literally live by my word.
Mm-hmm,
We have a far more impact that ends up being deeply rooted in someone's choices in life than we probably realize.
mm-hmm,
So I always have stuck by financial independence, and independence is so specific to someone's financial
mm-hmm.
needs and
Yep,
wants, right?
yep.
So I always talk about financial stability. I always talk about replacing the income, not making the 10, the 20. We've spoken about that before. But these words such as sustainability, good financial independence, saving. I watched the podcast with Morgan Housel and I did a reaction video on YouTube, which went out yesterday. And I loved what he said, is he said, saving to me is not like a waste of time. Saving is buying a piece of my independence. It's equity
Yes, but
in my
bro,
independence.
preach, preach, preach. But this is what the other side of social media is telling people, which confuses people. Saving is a waste of money. If you've got it in the bank, inflation's eating away. And
That's
it's
what I
like
had. That's what I
you
had.
need
Yeah.
you need to be clear, and this is where influence is very, very important. I'm like you. I try and pick my words very, very carefully. I'm very, very cognizant about how I talk about things because people unfortunately will hang on your every single word. If I
Yeah.
had to break this down very, very simply, you have to map out the financial situation that works for your situation. There is no right or wrong answer. There's only the right and wrong answer for you. And whoever you're speaking to, and I don't know who you're listening to, they don't know the right or wrong answer for you. What they often do is they will espouse the things that are right and wrong for them. So it's important to try and take yourself out of that and think, okay, so how is this going to work for me? What do I want to achieve? What are my priorities? How do I structure my finances to make sure that I feel safe? And look, many people will say, oh, don't put money in the bank, mate. Like, where are you going to put it? Hmm? Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it? You're going to put it in a safe. You're going to put it under a bed. What if your house burns down? Then what? Like, where are you going to put your money?
But again,
Okay,
a lot of these
go on.
people, they're not financially literate. So I actually had someone that said, well, saving, not only is it boring, I had the whole you only live once, so saving, what's the point? And I was like, and
Mm-hmm.
someone said, well, inflation's going to erode it. And I thought, do I explain? I thought, you can't argue with stupidity. You can't argue with people who don't want to see the bigger picture. There is a huge benefit in being liquid.
Yeah. And look,
Being liquid.
what we're saying here for everyone who's watching is we're not saying that the principles around inflation and the need to invest rather than saves isn't true. It is true. But what we're saying here is structuring your finances so that you have some money set aside as an emergency fund. So if the world, I don't know, something happens, you need to replace your car or whatever it might be, you've got money that you can tap into immediately. You want to quit your 9 to 5 job, you can be like, you know what, sod this, I'm off. I've got 12 months emergency fund. I'm going to pursue that's what I've done. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I had 12 months worth of runway. It's allowed me to be here today. What we're saying is you need to structure your finances. You need to prioritize certain things. So that's your first thing. And then once you have that, you can start investing, because at that point, you're now investing money that you don't need. And that money needs to be able to beat inflation, to compound and actually start building some form of wealth for you. So we're not saying the fundamental principles about inflation and saving and how inflation impacts savings isn't true. We're talking about understanding what the best setup is for you and your circumstances. That's all we're saying, just to be absolutely clear, because I can see the comment section now.
Perfectly put. This leads us on perfectly to the slides that I created. So the next one, I'm just going to put this up on screen for the live stream so that they can see the next one. So this one's the juicy one. Okay, so the power of compounding. Now, Pete, I know you would have had these conversations. I've had many of them where I say to someone, what are you saving at the moment? Or what are you investing? And they say, well, nothing. I don't. And I say, well, could you not save 2 or 3 or 4 or £5 a week? And then the answer I get, Pete, is,
What's the point?
oh, what's the point in that?
Mm-hmm.
£5. So look, here we go. Again, numbers don't lie. So investing into a stocks and shares ISA, returning an average of 10% per annum. You might get a little bit more, you might get some spikes, but a good 10% is an average. So if you were to do £5 over 20 years, 10% return per annum, you'd have 16,625. Okay. It's better than a kick up at bum. But
Oh
then
yeah,
obviously,
no. But mate. All right. So this is what the cynical people will say. This is what
yeah,
the
let's do
comment
it.
section will say. Well, look, it's £20 a month, and I had to wait 20 years for this. But you would have spent the money, so you wouldn't have 16 grand. Like, that's the whole point. It's when I
Yeah.
talk to people and be like, listen, it's I would strive, if you can, to buy your own property, because at the end of the day, when you get to retirement age at 55, 60, you're going to own the property. But I've got to wait 35 years till I've actually owned this property. But if you don't do that thing, you don't have a property that might be worth,
Again,
600,000, 700,000 pounds. Like,
psychology
wake
though.
up.
Psychology, if you don't build your own business, what is the alternative? You will be a servant for 45 years. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a consequence. It's the same, isn't it? This is all mindset. Everything you've just touched on there. This is all ties into your hardwire because okay, it's only £16,625 in 20 years. But if we go back to this, well, let's face it, you could be doing £235. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you were to do that, boy, would you have a lot of money in 20 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
But look, just so people can see it, £10, 33,000, right? Just over 33, 50, over 166K, 100, over 330K. Now, if we do it over a 30-year period, right, won't read them all out. But if you were able to save £100 per week in 30 years, you'd have nearly £1 million, right? £1 million.
And everyone will says, I want to be a millionaire. They're striving to be this millionaire. And it's like,
Yeah.
you will earn, most people during the course of their working life will
Yeah.
earn in the millions,
Yeah.
but you'll spend it all.
Yeah.
Make it make sense, please. Okay? Make it make
So
sense. And just pause for a moment and think about that.
again, I love the fact that numbers don't lie. Now, this tied lovely, just perfect into what we were saying earlier, right? Okay, so monthly income of someone earning, let's say, £2,000, right?
Mhm.
Let's just say their bills on average are about 1,200, right? So there's 800 in the kitty left over. Now, for people who are trapped in a job, the ones that say, I can't stand my boss, I'm being micromanaged, I'm being bullied, or they book holidays just to escape the damn thing, to then come back to the damn thing. They complain at the pub, they don't like it, they don't want to be in there. We've seen the numbers, right? I don't think there's a slide after this, but if we just go back here, the stats on why people are stressed in a job is to do with their poor financial, relationship that they have. So the goal, let's say you try to build that 6 months of emergency fund, right? So that's the calculation on how much you need for 6 months, right? You need 7,200. So you can save £800. But here we go. We already know, well, that's boring. Well, for 9 months, because you'd have to save £800 for 9 months to get to a point where you have a 6 months of salary saved, right? You'd have to do that over 9 months. But I can already hear people going, Well, when am I going to go out and live life? Well, what one is it? Do you want to live life or do you want to escape the pain that you complain about to everyone, every man and their dog you complain about? Do you,
Hmm.
again, sacrifice 9 months and then you
Hmm.
have half a year's worth of salary to cover you, all of your bills, to give you breathing space, to allow you to become more authentic, to allow you not to be bent over a barrel and rogered by your
Hmm.
5'4" manager. You're going to give yourself breathing space.
Yeah.
You're going to have options. Well, 9 months, 9 months, Pete. I've got to save all my money for 9 months. Yeah, you have. Yeah, you have.
Yeah. Again, priorities and complacency, right? At the end of the day, nothing comes. This is, and honestly, mate, we live in a fast-paced society now where things are instantaneous. People have forgotten the concept of hard work and sacrifice. If you
Yeah,
want it, you'll do it. If you don't, you won't. But if you don't complain that you're where you are. It's very, very simple. Like yesterday is a prime example, right? Yesterday, I had a podcast recording that I went to in the morning, and I got back in the afternoon and I thought, I don't want to work. And I didn't work yesterday for the rest of the day.
yeah,
I can do that because I've made sacrifices. Number one, with 12 months, I had money set aside for 12 months to build my business when I first started in 2020 that has allowed me the opportunity to be able to do this. But that was a sacrifice. I walked away from a very, very, very well paying job to do this. You've got to be willing to sacrifice. You've got to be able to put yourself in your ideal position in your head X amount of years into the future and really visualize what it is that you want. And I do this with people when I coach. Like, what does it actually look like? Like,
yeah.
really think about the minute details, like small things. When I was an advisor, we would sit down with clients and say, look, fast forward to your retirement day. First day of retirement, where do you want to be? I want to be in a place sunny. Okay, where? Where? Are you on a beach? Yeah, beach would be nice. Okay, okay. So you're on a beach. Are you walking the beach? Are you barefoot with the sand going through your toes and the water rushing in? Have you got a beer or a pina colada in your hand? Like really visualize it because it puts you there. And trust me, it's people don't necessarily believe in visualization, but my whole life has been a whole visualization thing. Like everything. If you can see it, you'll believe it and you'll do what is necessary. But you need to make it priority. If you can't do that simple thing because you're distracted with freaking social media and boobs on TikTok or whatever it might be, good luck. Good luck to you. Like you're just gonna stay where you are, and that's just the truth.
Yeah. Have you noticed there's a common thing with like individuals like you, me, other people who have that ability to follow that entrepreneurial sort of road is that we've never held on to titles. So we're not trapped by, society's titles. I've never, ever, and I never will hear you ever say, like, I'm Pete, I'm the YouTuber. Or you've never, we've never thrown a title at each other.
Mate,
We've never thrown,
the thing that I hate the most is when I do a talk or I'm asked to do something, people are like, oh, what's your title? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I have no idea. Like, if you call me a YouTuber or a best-selling author or a financial expert, what does it all mean? Like, it doesn't really mean anything.
yeah.
I just want to live a life where I can provide people with value and that allows me to take a day off if I want to.
There's never any
But
who's
I'm,
it's Wang.
yeah, yeah. It's
It's
like,
all like level.
yeah, it
But
doesn't.
but
The title doesn't matter, mate. At the end of the day,
But I think that's a huge part of what allows us to be free because it doesn't matter about who's earning the most money. It doesn't matter about who has the biggest pay packet because it's about living a life which is free. Jason perfectly says this: free in mind, free in body, free in movement, free in financial choices and decisions, free in being able to say no freely without feeling bad for it. That's what rich is. That's what rich
I
is.
love that. I love that because I say no to a lot of money, and like
That's
if my
wealthy.
18 if my 18-year-old self, when I was sleeping on the streets, could hear me saying this, he'll probably punch me in the face because he'd be like, "What, you're saying no to money?" I get emails every single day. Oh, we'd like to work with you and all this kind of stuff. And I know for a fact if I say, "Look, this is my rate, this is what I'll charge," most of them will agree to it. Or I get offered, "Oh, we'd like to offer you this much to do a video or to do this or do that." And a lot of the time I'm just like, nah. I look at the brand, I'm like, I don't want to do it. I've got one at the moment, which is Win a Million, which is kind of like, it's like a lottery thing, basically. And they were like, oh, if it's, you get something like £10 per person who registers and plays. And then if one of your followers wins, you also win up to £1,000,000. And I looked at it, I was like, no. Number one, I don't work on commission only anyway. So you've got to pay my fee up front, then you can add on the commission. But I'm looking at it thinking, well, if it turns out to be a Ponzi scheme, that's my fault. And what would I have done? I would have used this dream of winning £1,000,000 to lure people into their scheme because I have no control over how they operate and who they are, what it is that they do. Like, why would I do that? I had one offer me 5 grand the other week. I don't want to do it.
Me too.
No, why would I say no to 5 grand at my 18-year-old self? I mean, seriously. But
Yeah.
it's not just about the money. It's about the things that you want to build, which is why the priorities go beyond just financial considerations. And I know
But
people will say, oh, that's very nice for you to say, Pete, sitting where you are and all that kind of stuff. But it's a fundamental principle that if you do what I do and what Aaron does, if you are not clear on what those principles are, you are out of business very, very quickly. Because the money, to a certain extent, is important, but it's not the most important thing.
And we're only sitting here talking about the things that we now know and understand because we've been doing this for years. Like I'm 33. I started this journey really as soon as my son came into my life. A little bit earlier in terms of I was entrepreneurial, but from 20 years old. I'm 33 now. It's 13 years I've been learning and working at my craft. And you've been doing this for many years as well. And that's why we're sitting here now sharing what we know. We've both had our hardships, right? Nothing has been given to us, but having the ability to be humble in growth and understand what true wealth really is, because wealth isn't about the bank balance. It's really not. As I have gotten older and I have learned what truly is important, it's not about how much money you have. It is that element of how much freedom do you have, how much choice, how many people can you say no to and feel absolutely fine about it because it doesn't align with you. And I love the whole like freedom in movement because that's like a real big thing for me. Like having money where I can go where I want with who I want at any time that I want. And I did an Instagram post about this recently, but that really is a sign of strong stability in your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Again, stability, sustainability, good cash flow, like understanding cash flow. Now, I just quickly I'm actually going to see if I can find a video because I just want to see if it's this one.
Seven different
Like this was
people fucking leasing new shit with money.
this was Gary V.
People that are broke have closets, and everyone's like inflation, and we got fucked by the boomers. No accountability. You know what the boomers think? I didn't go out to eat every day.
Yeah,
we cooked at home. We didn't have 7 purses. I had 1 purse for 9 years. Materialism ate up society. Some people would argue.
I love this, and he basically dives into it. Oh, here we go. Life is short.
Stop. You pick the short path. Shut your fucking mouth.
I love that. He basically just says, stop complaining. If you're complaining you haven't got any money, but you've got the finance car, you've got a wardrobe full of designer clothing, and you're still saying you haven't got any money, you've chosen that, so stop complaining. But again, one thing I do want to just finish on and us to cover, you just said about the phone earlier. We are on a podcast right now. You are in Dubai. I'm in the UK. I'm live streaming on TikTok. We've got our DSLR cameras hooked up. We've got phones, we've got laptops. What excuse does anyone have anymore not to make their own independent cash flow? There is nothing. Which is why I can't put up with, well, the cost of, the prices of everything's gone up. Okay, not old, it's not new news. Make more money. And I know there'll be people that would say, oh, make more money. It's, I can hear.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to play that, sandwich. We fill it up, right? We do the layers. Maybe you want to do the other side of
it. Look, at the end of the day, mate, I think, look, it's all about choices. It's all about choices. You either want to make progress or you don't. And if you do, you'll do the hard yards to make that progress. And you'll understand that it is a hard yard that you have to, compete in. And when I say compete, you have to compete. Like, I'm not the biggest financial YouTuber on YouTube. There are plenty of other channels that have way more subscribers than me, probably making way more money than me, but I don't care. I don't care about the money. I just want to have impact, basically. Yeah. That's all I want. I just want to have impact, and I want to be able to do what I do on a day-to-day basis and just still have a nice lifestyle. That's what matters to me the most. And yeah, money is important. I'm not saying that it's not important. I still have instances where I'm kind of like, okay, I need maybe on the business side, I need to, pump it up a little bit and get some cash in. You know what I mean? I have those moments, and I will act accordingly. And sometimes I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to be completely honest, right? Right now, I have an urge, and I don't know where it comes from, but I just want to buy a nice Louis Vuitton backpack. I've been fighting this thing for 3 to 4 months. Should I go buy it? Should I not go buy it? I go and have a look at it. It's it's $2,000. And I'm like, oh, it's $2,000. I could afford it, but I'll kick myself if I do buy it. But I want a really nice backpack. Will I succumb to it? Probably. But I'm probably going to use it as okay, I need to meet some goals first. So my biggest driver right now is I need to hit 80,000 subscribers by the end of the year on my YouTube channel. Maybe if I hit that, I'll go buy that Louis Vuitton bag as a treat and as a memento to that milestone. And I think that's really important. We're not saying don't go and enjoy nice things or budget and have some money set aside to go and do some nice things. You need nice things sometimes to be able to spur you on. You need a holiday to give you that break so that you feel relaxed and energized to go back for more, right? We're not saying don't do any of those things, but you still need to have a hierarchy of importance in your spending decisions. If you're broke in a 9 to 5, you freaking hate, and your priority is to get out of it, should you really go on that holiday to Cancun or wherever it is that you want to go with the lads?
Yeah.
Honestly, should you? Should you come over to Dubai and be like, oh, I'm going to go rent a Lamborghini and give it the biggin? Oh, should you really do that? Should you be going out with your mates every single weekend and having some, some hashish or whatever it is and going for a dinner and popping bottles just to look impressive? Should you really be doing that? If the answer is, well, no, I should probably knuckle down, then you should freaking knuckle down. Do what is necessary and everything else will take care of itself at the end of the day. And that's honestly the whole truth.
Yeah, mate, I love the goals because I do exactly the same. I just picked up about a month ago now my brand new plate, 75/26 plate, brand new M1 Sport, mate, in that wicked grey silver, whatever it is. Mate, the full works inside, right? And I did that because 2025, I did that as a goal, as in that was a reward to myself. I don't spend money on anything, mate. You're always in plain clothes. I'm always wearing my own stuff. I'm in my Primark joggers, right? I'm wearing freaking Crocs right now. I don't spend money on materialistic things. I don't have a Rolex. I have got the urge to buy a Rolex, but I haven't done it because I know I'll buy it and I probably won't really wear it too much. But I did want to buy a brand new M1 Sport. And I bought it because I could justify it. And that's the thing. I am so aligned with having goals. You have to say to yourself, do I deserve it? Have I earned it? We go to Disney every year. We're going in a few weeks. We go every year at Christmas. And that to me is a treat that I want to absolutely work my socks off and hit huge milestones and prepare myself for another great year. And then the whole Disney thing is I basically can switch off and I can self-praise and I can actually have, time to say, I've done all right this year. And I think it's good to have that, those milestones, and then spend some money. Again, I think it's so healthy to go, I'm going to achieve this, this, and this, whether it be personally, professionally, financially. And as a reward, I'm going to have that. And I'm going to be disciplined and I'm going to make the sacrifices in order to really look forward to buying that. And when I do, I'm going to love it. And I think that's healthy. And you know, both me and you are very aligned on that, and I think that's a good way to be, is have those healthy goals. So I love it. I was going to I was trying to find this other video which was just brilliant of Gary. I really liked some of Gary V's stuff recently. He's kind of going into a there's no excuse not to make money anymore and stop complaining, a lot of content. And I feel like maybe he's seeing a lot
Yeah,
of
but social media is just a pity party right now, mate. It's a
it
pity
really
party
is.
everywhere I go and everywhere I turn. It's a pity party. And the craziest thing is, right? It's even on freaking LinkedIn now. It's
Oh,
mad. It's
don't get me started on
infuriating. Like it's every Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'm not on Kick or Twitch or anything like that, so God knows what it's like over there. But I would assume it's the same. But if it's bad on LinkedIn, it's bad. It's really, really bad. And what I'm seeing is there's this war somehow between like, oh, men do this, women do this, and blah blah. What do we do?
nothing to
What
do with
are
their
we doing?
business either. Nothing to
I
do.
know.
I saw you comment on a certain someone with the initials RM, and
Mm-hmm.
I see that stuff pop up, and I'm like, why? Like, are you desperate for the attention?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yep.
do you need to be
Yep. It's
sharing
mad, mate. It's
or posting
crazy.
about the
I think
clickbait?
you need to be very discerning around the stuff that you're putting your
I love
mind
reading
and your
some of your
eyes in front
comments.
of. I listen, mate. I'm very matter of fact. Like I'm
Yeah,
one of those people where it's like, for example, on my YouTube today, I did something about uh the whole renters' rights bill.
right.
I'm an accidental landlord, so I'm giving my thoughts, trying to be fair though, looking at it from a renter's point of view, landlord's point of view, right? And there was a comment on there, and look, every time I see these comments, mate, I pin it, and I'm like, boom, like
Yeah,
let's call this out. So there was a comment on there, something like it will be the end of scammy landlords and NIG landlords too. And I'm like, I'm going to pin this and I'm going to be like, listen, I think I know what you're saying, but say it with your chest. If you need to put the GER at the end of this, put it on there. Like, let's go. Like,
you're
like
ready, aren't you? You're ready.
put it out there. I like to call that kind of stuff out because I think it's important. If you stay silent and you just sidestep it, oh, you must be having a bad day. You're complicit in the whole thing. So
I
I
screen
call this
cap a
stuff
lot of
out.
them. I screen cap a lot of stuff, and I use it as videos to dive into it. I'm like, don't be this donut because X, Y,
Mm.
and Z, you know.
Yeah.
Mate, I love
And
it.
also I know who to deal with and who not to deal with and be like, okay, cool, noted.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
good.
you know. Mate, I absolutely love doing these with you. Are there any sort of final words just on someone who, you know, who has hung around to the end here about, you know, maybe just making a start on your finances? Like what's the first thing someone should look out for or do?
Well, listen, if you're here, what, 40 minutes into this thing, then you're probably part of the top 5% of people because a lot of people click off at what, halfway through.
If
So you're a winner right there immediately. And what I would say is, look, everything we've spoken about, we're talking from experience, obviously. It doesn't mean that our answers are going to be the right ones for you. The key is to find your own answers. That's the most important thing, to find your own answers and use, I guess, our input and our experience and our explanations, our thoughts to inform what you might do. But please make no mistake in thinking that there are shortcuts to this stuff. There aren't. Anyone who's trying to sell you a shortcut is a scammer. I'll tell you this right now for free, because anything that you want to prioritize, set as a goal, or however you may want to put this, is going to entail hard work. And you can't side skirt that. And I think you need to be prepared to fight for what you want. There's going to be competition. You have to compete. And if you're not willing to compete, you're in a losing game. But hopefully you are willing to compete. It's never too late. People will say, why would I do social media now? It's so saturated. You'll find your own voice. I found my own voice 5 years ago. There are more and more people joining YouTube now, but the YouTube algorithm is favoring a lot of new channels also. So where you think there's something that's that's acted against you or could be a factor that works against you, there is always something else that is a positive that will work in your favor. I think if you want to go into social media specifically, I'll give you this clear advice right now. You have to be authentically yourself. Don't try and copy anyone. Don't try. You might want to take a few bits and pieces that you like from this person or that person and this person, but you need to find your own authentic voice, because if you don't, people will see through the nonsense. Never, ever, ever lead with money. I know it's important, but you don't start a business and you don't start social media purely just to make money. You need to have some kind of purpose behind it. And if you can get all of those things squared off, then you'll do it. You'll be successful. You'll build the life that you want. It will just take time. So then it becomes a matter of patience and virtue.
Patience is like patience has disappeared. Patience is so key. Like, I've realized you got to wait. You got to be in the market, and nothing happens overnight. Like, patience is one of those things. It's really frustrating, but it is a part of this game. I am building this tech company, and I know that I've got 4.5, potentially 5 years of being patient and hard graft. Like, to not even talk about the work that's going to go in, but allowing the process like to take place, and that's patience. But you learn that over time. The other thing is as well, you've just touched on my final point. I just want to mirror what you've just said. Is number one, not chasing money, no shiny penny syndrome. It will lead you down a dark path. Is I've always found the people that are most successful are the ones that are willing to do it free. So with no expectation, just doing something because they love it, and they're going to show up regardless of whether they were paid or not. And they're going to show up every day. And the longer you can do something from a place of, education and value, and you can do that without ever expecting, and you can build that trust in a world which is, personal branding, marketing, social media, and you can never have that expectation and be authentic. You build that community, you build that trust, the money will start to reveal itself, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, and the money will be great.
And then you can start to choose what you want to do for free or not.
Exactly.
But it comes later on. And this is the most important thing to remember, because I think when people say you've got to be willing to do it for free, they think, well, how am I going to get paid? You're doing that to build your foundations and to build trust, to build credibility. You will get to a stage where you get to command what you want if people want to work with you.
Yeah.
And it takes time to build that. But, that's probably one of the hardest things to navigate, which is why having your runway, your emergency fund for the first 12 months is so important, because it allows you to really dive into providing that free value and establishing yourself in that crucial period.
Which is why you need to buy time. Going back to what we were saying earlier, and that quote by that Morgan Housel is saving money is buying equity in your own independence. We're not in a day and age now where it's wise to go take 150 grand bank loan, go open up a warehouse, fill it up with stock, with no brand, no marketing, no trust, and hope you sell in a physical shop. You're buying equity, and you're developing equity and ownership of something that will eventually make money. But you have to do that. It's front end stuff. It's putting in the yards, but it's all worth it. And just the final thing, like you said, it's not oversaturated. Like, YouTube's in its infancy, TikTok is in its infancy, Instagram's in its infancy. There'll be other platforms. We're all very unique. There's all an opportunity, and there's enough money to go around. That's the thing. We have to remind ourselves there's over 8 billion people, and money is
Abundant.
in abundance. It doesn't run out. It's not capped at any point. There is enough to go around. So mate, I love this. We've covered off a hell of a lot. Yeah, and if you are sticking around, you are a part of that 1 to 5% in a very, very small percentage of people that will probably go on to do something. So Pete, my man, I'll include all your tags as usual.
Cheers, dude.
In the description. And for everyone who has stayed up until this point, thank you so much. We hope you took a lot away. And if you did, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you all very soon. Peace.
Cheers.